My dear brothers and sisters, let me speak to your heart today, not from culture, not from pressure, not from what people expect of you, but from what Allah wants for you. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that being single means something is missing, that your life is on pause, that your value is incomplete until someone chooses you. But Islam never taught us that. Allah never said your worth begins when a person enters your life. Allah created you complete before anyone ever knew your name. Staying single is not a failure, and choosing Allah first is not loneliness. It is strength, it is clarity, it is dignity. Today I want to remind you why a person who puts Allah first even while single is among the strongest and most grounded believers on earth. 1. Staying single gives you the space to heal without compromise. My dear sisters, healing is not something that happens quickly, and it is not something that can be rushed without consequences. True healing requires honesty with yourself, and honesty requires space, silence, and time. When you are single, you are not forced to hide your pain to keep someone else comfortable, and you are not pressured to appear strong just so you do not become too much for another person. You do not have to explain your tears, justify your boundaries, or apologize for needing time to heal. You are allowed to slow down and listen to your own heart without distraction. You are allowed to acknowledge the wounds you carry, whether they came from past relationships, family pain, rejection, betrayal, or deep disappointments you never spoke about. In this space, you can finally stop pretending that you are fine when you are not, and that honesty itself becomes the beginning of healing. When you are single, you are not rushing your healing so that you can be ready for marriage or acceptable to someone else. You are healing because your heart matters to Allah. You are allowed to sit with your pain, understand where it comes from, and bring it directly to Allah in your dua, your sujood, and your quiet moments of reflection. There is no fear of abandonment here, no fear that if you show your brokenness, someone will walk away. Allah does not leave when you are vulnerable. Allah does not grow tired of your tears. Allah does not tell you to hurry up and be healed. Instead, He listens, He comforts, and He heals at a pace that protects your heart. Many women enter relationships carrying wounds that were never treated, hoping marriage will fix what only Allah can heal. They hope love will cover their insecurities, that attention will erase their trauma, or that companionship will silence the pain they never faced. But unhealed wounds do not disappear in marriage, they follow you into it. Allah, in His mercy, sometimes keeps you single, not to deprive you, but to protect you. He knows that if you give your heart before it is whole, you may lose yourself trying to be loved. So He pauses your journey not to delay your happiness, but to restore your strength. Staying single allows you to rebuild yourself quietly. You are not performing strength for anyone. You are not pretending to be okay just to appear desirable or stable. You can admit your fears, your weaknesses, and your needs without shame. This season teaches you how to care for your own heart, how to speak to yourself with kindness, and how to place your pain where it belongs, in the hands of Allah. It teaches you that your heart deserves gentleness, even when no one is watching, and that healing done for Allah's sake is deeper, stronger, and longer lasting than healing done to gain someone's approval. When you heal with Allah at the center, you do not just recover, you become emotionally whole, spiritually grounded, and ready for whatever Allah writes next, whether that is marriage or continued strength in solitude. 2. Choosing Allah first protects you from settling out of fear. My dear sisters, one of the quietest but most dangerous emotions a woman can carry is fear. The fear of being left behind, the fear of growing older alone, the fear that this opportunity might be the last one. Fear whispers lies into the heart and convinces you to accept what you would never accept if you were at peace. It tells you to ignore red flags, to stay silent when your values are being compromised, and to tolerate behavior that slowly drains your dignity. But when Allah is truly first in your heart, fear loses its control over you. You stop making decisions from panic and start making them from trust. You no longer choose people just to fill a space in your life, because Allah already fills your heart. Choosing Allah first changes the way you see relationships. You stop seeing marriage as a rescue and start seeing it as a responsibility. You understand that companionship without peace is not a blessing, it is a test. You realize that being alone with Allah is safer than being with someone who pulls you away from Him. A woman who chooses Allah first would rather wait in patience than rush into a relationship that costs her iman, self-respect, or emotional stability. She understands that loneliness is temporary, but the consequences of settling can last a lifetime. When Allah is first, desperation leaves your heart. You no longer chase attention, validation, or emotional crumbs. You do not bend your standards just to be chosen. You do not convince yourself that, at least he is trying, or at least I am not alone. Instead, you become calm, grounded, and selective. You understand that love should bring you closer to Allah, not further away from Him. A woman who fears Allah does not fear missing out, because she trusts that Allah's plan is more generous than her anxiety. Staying single while choosing Allah trains your heart to trust divine timing. It teaches you that what is written for you will arrive at the right moment in the right way, without you having to lower yourself or compromise your values. You stop asking, what if this is my last chance? And start believing what is meant for me will never miss me. This trust protects you from forcing doors that Allah has closed for your own safety. It protects you from relationships that look good on the outside but slowly damage you on the inside. My dear sisters, settling is not just about marrying the wrong person. It is about abandoning yourself out of fear. When Allah is first, you never abandon yourself. You know that your worth does not depend on being chosen by a human being. You know that Allah's choice for you will come with peace, not confusion, security, not anxiety, and dignity, not compromise. And until that moment arrives, you walk with patience, strength, and trust, knowing that waiting with Allah is always better than rushing without Him. 3. Singleness strengthens your relationship with Allah without distraction. My dear sisters, one of the greatest gifts hidden inside the season of singleness is the opportunity to build a relationship with Allah that is deep, personal, and undivided. When you are single, your heart is not pulled in multiple emotional directions at once. You are not constantly adjusting your schedule, your energy, or your emotions around another person's needs and expectations. Instead, your attention becomes clearer and your connection with Allah becomes more intentional. This is a time when your salah is not rushed, your dua is not distracted, and your moments of worship are not squeezed between emotional demands. You begin to experience what it means to turn to Allah first, not because there is no one else, but because He is enough. In this season, you learn how to lean on Allah in ways you may never have before. When happiness comes, you thank Him directly. When sadness arrives, you cry to Him without filtering your emotions. When confusion fills your heart, you ask Him for clarity instead of seeking reassurance from people. This constant turning to Allah builds a bond that is honest and real. You are no longer performing faith in front of anyone. You are no longer trying to appear strong, spiritual, or put together. You are simply a servant speaking to her Lord. This kind of relationship is powerful because it is built in privacy, sincerity, and trust. Singleness also teaches you independence in your faith. Your iman is no longer supported by someone else's reminders, encouragement, or presence. You learn to pray because you want to, not because someone else is praying. You learn to avoid sin because you fear Allah, not because someone is watching. You build discipline in your worship that comes from conviction, not convenience. This strengthens your iman in a way that remains steady, whether you are single or married. A woman who learns to walk with Allah alone will never lose her way when life becomes crowded. When Allah becomes your primary source of comfort, something beautiful happens inside your heart. You stop expecting people to fill spaces that only Allah was meant to fill. You stop attaching your peace to messages, attention, or emotional availability from others. Instead, you find calm in remembrance, stability in prayer, and reassurance in knowing that Allah sees you, hears you, and understands you better than anyone ever could. This does not make you cold or distant. It makes you emotionally balanced and spiritually grounded. My dear sisters, many people enter marriage still searching for Allah in their spouse, expecting love to heal loneliness and companionship to silence the heart. But a woman who builds her relationship with Allah during singleness enters marriage, if Allah wills, with a full heart, not an empty one. She loves deeply but does not lose herself. She gives generously but does not become dependent. And even if marriage is delayed, her life is not delayed, because her connection with Allah continues to grow, strengthen, and carry her forward with peace. 4. Staying single teaches you self-worth that no relationship can give. My dear sisters, one of the most powerful lessons a woman can learn in her lifetime is where her worth truly comes from. Many women grow up believing, often without realizing it, that their value increases when they are desired, chosen, or loved by someone else. Society, culture, and even subtle family pressure can make a woman feel as though being single means she is lacking, behind, or incomplete. But Allah never created you to discover your worth through another human being. Staying single, when lived with intention and faith, slowly removes these false measurements and replaces them with something far stronger and more permanent. Self-worth rooted in Allah. When you are single, you are forced to meet yourself without distractions. There is no relationship to hide behind, no one else's approval to lean on, and no external validation to distract you from how you truly see yourself. At first, this can feel uncomfortable, even painful, because it exposes the insecurities you may have ignored for years. But with time and reliance on Allah, this discomfort becomes growth. You begin to understand that your value is not tied to attention, compliments, or proposals. Your value is tied to the fact that Allah chose you to exist, honored you with Iman, and entrusted you with a soul that carries purpose. Staying single teaches you to respect yourself in ways that no relationship ever could. You learn to set boundaries without guilt. You learn to say no without fear of being abandoned. You learn that your time, emotions, and energy are sacred, not something to be given away just to feel wanted. This self-respect does not make you arrogant or distant, it makes you grounded. A woman who knows her worth does not chase love, she protects her heart. She does not tolerate disrespect in the name of patience, and she does not confuse emotional pain with loyalty. She understands that dignity is part of her faith, not something she negotiates. As you grow in this season, you begin to see yourself through the lens of Allah's mercy instead of people's opinions. You stop asking, "Why am I not chosen?" and start asking, "How can I become closer to Allah?" This shift changes everything. You realize that being single is not a sign of rejection, but an invitation to strengthen your relationship with yourself and your Lord. You become comfortable in your own presence, confident in your values, and secure in who you are, whether anyone is watching or not. My dear sisters, self-worth built through Allah does not collapse when circumstances change. If someone enters your life, you do not lose yourself trying to keep them. If someone leaves, your identity does not shatter. You remain steady because your worth was never placed in fragile hands. Staying single teaches you that you are already whole, already enough, and already honored by Allah. And when a woman carries this kind of self-worth, she walks through life with quiet confidence, unshakable dignity, and a heart that knows it was never created to beg for love, but to live with purpose and faith. 4. Staying single teaches you self-worth that no relationship can give. My dear sisters, one of the deepest struggles many women carry silently is the question of worth. Not spoken out loud, but whispered inside the heart. Am I enough? Am I desired? Am I behind in life because I am still single? Society, culture, and even well-meaning voices around us often push the idea that a woman's value increases when she is chosen by someone married or admired. Over time, this thinking sinks into the heart and quietly shapes how a woman sees herself. Staying single, when Allah is placed at the center of it, gently but powerfully dismantles this false belief and replaces it with a truth that is far stronger and far more stable. When you are single, there is no relationship to hide behind and no constant validation to lean on. You are face to face with yourself. At first, this can feel uncomfortable because it exposes insecurities you may have ignored for years. You may realize how much of your confidence was tied to being liked, wanted, or emotionally needed. But this exposure is not meant to break you, it is meant to wake you up. In this space, Allah invites you to rediscover who you are, without applause, without comparison, and without pressure. You begin to learn that your worth does not fluctuate with attention. It does not rise when someone chooses you, and it does not fall when someone leaves. Staying single teaches you that your value was given to you long before anyone had an opinion about you. Allah honored you the moment He created you. He gave you a soul, a mind, a heart, and the ability to know Him. That honor does not disappear because your marital status has not changed. When you truly understand this, something inside you settles. You stop feeling rushed. You stop feeling like you are late to your own life. You begin to understand that Allah does not measure you the way people do. He does not rank you by timelines, proposals, or appearances. He looks at your sincerity, your patience, your effort, and your reliance on Him. This season also teaches you self-respect in a way that relationships often cannot. When you are single and grounded in Allah, you learn how to protect your boundaries without guilt. You learn how to say no without explaining yourself endlessly. You learn that your emotions are not something to give away cheaply just to feel wanted. You begin to recognize your own needs, your own limits, and your own standards. This does not make you cold or distant. It makes you aware. A woman who knows her worth does not confuse attention with love or attachment with loyalty. She understands that dignity is part of her faith, not something she sacrifices to keep someone close. As this understanding grows, your inner dialogue changes. You stop asking, "Why am I not chosen?" and start asking, "How can I become closer to Allah?" You stop measuring your life against others and start measuring it against your own growth. You become more patient with yourself, more compassionate toward your journey, and more confident in the pace Allah has set for you. This confidence is not loud. It does not need to announce itself. It shows in the way you walk away from what does not serve your iman. It shows in the way you wait without bitterness. It shows in the way you trust Allah, even when answers are delayed. My dear sisters, self-worth that comes from Allah does not break under pressure. If someone enters your life, you do not lose yourself trying to keep them. You do not shrink your values to maintain peace. And if someone leaves, your identity does not collapse. Your heart may ache, but your foundation remains intact. Staying single teaches you that you are already whole, already honored, and already enough in the sight of Allah. And a woman who truly understands her worth does not beg for love, rush her destiny, or fear being alone. She walks forward with quiet strength, steady faith, and the deep certainty that her value was never meant to be negotiated, questioned, or borrowed from anyone else. 5. Singleness is a training ground for emotional strength. My dear sisters, emotional strength is not something a woman is born with. It is something she develops, often quietly, often through seasons that feel heavy and lonely. One of the greatest misunderstandings is thinking that strength comes from being constantly supported by people, when in reality, strength is formed when you learn how to stand with Allah, even when no one else is there. Singleness, when lived with faith, becomes a powerful training ground for emotional maturity, stability, and resilience. It teaches you how to face your emotions honestly instead of escaping them, and how to manage your heart without handing its responsibility to another human being. When you are single, you cannot distract yourself with constant companionship. Loneliness may visit you, Silence may feel louder, and emotions you once avoided may surface. At first, this can feel overwhelming. But Allah does not allow this season to punish you. He allows it to prepare you. In this space, you learn how to sit with your feelings without being controlled by them. You learn that sadness does not mean failure, and loneliness does not mean abandonment. You learn how to experience emotion without letting it dictate your choices. This is emotional strength, the ability to feel deeply while still remaining grounded in faith. Singleness teaches you patience in ways comfort never could. You learn how to wait without becoming bitter, how to hope without becoming desperate, and how to trust Allah without demanding immediate answers. You begin to understand that not every discomfort needs to be fixed right away, and not every ache means something is wrong with you. Some emotions are meant to be carried for a time, shaped by dua, softened by prayer, and released slowly through reliance on Allah. This patience becomes a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger you become. In this season, you also learn emotional independence. You stop expecting others to regulate your mood, reassure your fears, or constantly fill emotional gaps. Instead, you turn inward and upward. You learn how to calm yourself through remembrance, how to steady your heart through prayer, and how to remind yourself of truth when emotions try to distort reality. This does not make you emotionally closed. It makes you emotionally balanced. A woman who learns to manage her emotions with Allah's guidance does not panic under pressure and does not collapse when tested. Singleness also exposes emotional patterns that may have gone unnoticed before. You may recognize tendencies to overthink, attach too quickly, fear abandonment, or seek validation. Allah brings these patterns to the surface, not to shame you, but to heal you. Awareness is the first step towards strength. Once you see these patterns, you can work through them with sincerity, dubra, and self-reflection. Over time, your reactions become calmer, your responses become wiser, and your heart becomes steadier. My dear sisters, a woman who builds emotional strength in singleness enters the next chapter of her life, whether marriage or continued solitude, with stability and clarity. She does not rely on another person to hold her together. She does not lose herself when emotions rise. She knows how to self-soothe, how to trust Allah in moments of uncertainty, and how to remain firm when life feels unsteady. This kind of emotional strength is not loud or dramatic, but it is powerful. It allows you to love without losing yourself, to wait without breaking, and to walk forward with dignity, knowing that Allah used this season not to weaken you, but to quietly make you strong. 6. Choosing Allah first aligns you with the right destiny. My dear sisters, one of the greatest sources of anxiety in a woman's heart is the fear that time is running out, that life is passing by, and that if she does not force certain outcomes, she may miss her chance at happiness. This fear often pushes women to chase doors that were never meant to be opened, to hold on to people who were never meant to stay, and to compromise values just to feel secure. But when a woman truly chooses Allah first, something remarkable happens. Her life begins to align not according to pressure or comparison, but according to divine wisdom. She may not always understand the timing, but she begins to trust the planner. Choosing Allah first means surrendering the illusion of control. It means accepting that Allah sees the full picture while we only see fragments. When you place Allah at the center of your decisions, you stop forcing outcomes and start responding to signs. You become more sensitive to what brings peace and what brings restlessness. You begin to recognize that ease is often Allah's guidance, and that constant inner resistance is a warning, not a challenge to push through. This awareness protects you from walking into relationships, environments, and commitments that look promising on the outside but quietly drain your soul. Many women believe that delays in marriage or companionship are signs of rejection, but in reality they are often signs of protection. Allah, in His mercy, removes you from paths that would have caused you harm long before you ever see the damage. He may delay your meeting with the right person so that you do not give your heart away before it is ready, or so that you are not attached to someone who would have pulled you away from your purpose. When you choose Allah first, you begin to see delays differently. You stop viewing them as punishment and start recognizing them as preparation. This alignment with destiny also sharpens your choices. You stop ignoring red flags because you are afraid of being alone. You stop romanticizing what Allah has clearly shown you is not good for you. You stop asking, how can I make this work? And start asking, is this pleasing to Allah? This shift changes the direction of your life. It saves you from years of emotional exhaustion and regret. A woman who chooses Allah first may wait longer, but she walks a cleaner path. Her journey is quieter, but it is safer. As you continue choosing Allah, you begin to feel an inner steadiness even when answers are delayed. You trust that what is meant for you will arrive without you having to betray yourself. You trust that Allah will not ask you to sacrifice your iman, dignity, or peace to receive His blessings. This trust removes desperation from your heart and replaces it with calm confidence. You move forward with patience, knowing that Allah's plan unfolds perfectly, even when it unfolds slowly. My dear sisters, destiny is not something you chase, it is something you align with. When Allah is first, your steps fall into place even when you cannot see the road ahead. You may not know who will be written into your future or when, but you know who is guiding you, and that certainty is enough. A woman who chooses Allah first may walk alone for a season, but she is never lost, never late, and never denied. She is simply being guided, protected, and prepared for a destiny that matches her faith, her patience, and her worth. 7. A woman who chooses Allah first is never truly alone. My dear sisters, one of the deepest fears many women carry in silence is the fear of loneliness. Not just being physically alone, but the fear of feeling unseen, unsupported, and forgotten. Society often teaches us that loneliness is solved by marriage, companionship, or constant connection with people. But Islam teaches us something far more powerful. Loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the absence of connection with Allah. When a woman truly chooses Allah first, even in her singleness, she discovers a companionship that does not fade, disappoint, or leave her feeling empty. When Allah becomes the center of your life, your understanding of solitude begins to change. You may still have moments of quiet, evenings without conversation, and days when no one checks on you, but your heart is no longer empty. You learn to feel Allah's presence in your prayers, in your dua, and in the small moments of reflection throughout your day. You begin to recognize that Allah is aware of your thoughts before you speak them, aware of your tears before they fall, and aware of your struggles even when no one else notices. This awareness brings comfort that no human companionship can fully replace. In this season, Allah teaches you how to rely on Him emotionally, not just spiritually. When you feel overwhelmed, you turn to prayer instead of distraction. When sadness creeps in, you sit with Allah in sujood instead of numbing your heart. When you feel misunderstood, you remind yourself that Allah understands you completely. This reliance builds a deep sense of inner security. You no longer panic at the thought of being alone because you know you are accompanied by the one who controls all hearts and all outcomes. A woman who chooses Allah first also learns how to enjoy her own company without shame. She no longer sees being alone as a sign of failure, but as a space for growth, reflection, and peace. She learns how to fill her time with meaningful actions, personal development, worship, and service. This does not make her isolated from the world, it makes her selective. She becomes intentional about who she allows into her life, understanding that not every presence adds value and not every connection brings peace. Over time, this connection with Allah transforms the way she approaches relationships. She no longer clings to people out of fear of emptiness. She no longer tolerates emotional neglect or disrespect just to avoid being alone. She knows that her heart is already full, And anyone who enters her life must add to that fullness, not replace it. This gives her quiet strength. She walks away from what harms her iman without regret, because she is not afraid of solitude. My dear sisters, a woman who chooses Allah first carries a calm confidence that cannot be shaken by circumstances. She understands that people may come and go, plans may change, and timelines may shift, but Allah remains constant. She does not measure her life by how many people surround her, but by how close she is to her Creator. Even in moments of sadness, she knows she is not abandoned. Even in moments of waiting, she knows she is not forgotten. This is why a woman who chooses Allah first is never truly alone. She may walk alone for a season, sleep alone, or make decisions alone, but her heart is never without companionship. Allah walks with her through every stage of her journey, guiding her, protecting her, and strengthening her in ways she may not see immediately. And when the world grows quiet and the noise fades, she realizes something beautiful. The solitude she once feared became the space where her faith deepened, her strength grew, and her heart found peace that no one could ever take away. My dear sisters, staying single while choosing Allah first is not a sign that your life is incomplete, delayed, or falling behind. It is a sacred season, one that Allah Himself has written for you with wisdom, mercy, and purpose. Every quiet moment, every unanswered question, and every delay you experience is not random. Allah is shaping your heart, strengthening your faith, and protecting your soul in ways you may not fully understand yet. What feels like waiting is often preparation, and what feels like solitude is often Allah drawing you closer to Him. When you choose Allah first, you stop chasing validation and start living with conviction. You no longer measure your worth by who chooses you, but by the one who created you. You learn to heal without compromise, to wait without fear, and to trust without desperation. You become emotionally strong, spiritually grounded, and deeply aware that your peace is not dependent on another person's presence. This kind of woman does not rush her destiny because she knows Allah's timing is always perfect. If Allah has placed you in a season of singleness, do not waste it wishing it away. Use it to grow, to heal, to strengthen your connection with Him, and to become the woman who walks with dignity and faith in every situation. Whether marriage comes soon, later, or not at all, your life still has meaning, value, and beauty. A woman who builds her life around Allah never loses herself, never settles for less than she deserves, and never walks alone. Trust Allah with your heart, your future, and your timing. He knows exactly where you are, exactly what you need, and exactly when to give it to you. And when Allah is first, everything else will fall into its proper place.